Oh, it's just you! Don't sneak up on me like that! You scared the Krispy Kreme bejesus out of me! Oh my goodness! Good morning, definitely not scared peoples of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of I'm Definitely Not Scared. Today we are talking about the latest studio album from French avant-garde experimental black metal connoisseurs Blut Aus Nord. Chompy, I am going to put you just over here. Don't go too far, because I may need your defensive, offensive capabilities later on, should some sort of Lovecraftian creature emerge from another dimension at some point during this review. If you could stay within eyesight, please and thank you. That's great. Okay then. Bro, what did I just say? Where are you going? What a fucking asshole. I'm gonna skin him alive someday, swear to God. Disharmonium Nahab is not only the 15th full-length studio album from these masters of metal madness, it is also, apparently, the second entry in a new album series from this band. One dedicated to cosmic, abstract, Lovecraftian horrors and atmospheres. The previous entry in this series, Disharmonium Undreamable Abysses, lived up to its name by being an undreamable abyss of epic goddamn fucking proportions. Easily one of the best albums of 2022. In fact, I featured it in my top 10, as did Anna and Chompy, the fucking asshole who ran away. I also named it the scariest album of 2022, and I went out of my way to say that it is perhaps the most horrifying thing that Blut Aus Nord had unleashed upon us to date. With this in mind, a sequel, a second part, a second entry, whatever we want to look at this as, should also be delivering nightmarish thrills. Should it not? The answer is yes, and it does. Now, I will say, right off the bat, before we go any further, I do find myself preferring Undreamable Abysses over Nahab. That album was more immediate, more immersive, and ultimately more successful. But I do think Nahab succeeds in a lot of the same places for a lot of the same reasons, while being just different enough. It doesn't feel like a retread of Undreamable Abysses, and I actually really appreciate that. It is a slightly different execution of a very similar blueprint and recipe, heavy on atmosphere and lush, horrific arrangements and walls of noise and chaos. The album's appropriately titled double whammy of Hideous Dream Opus No. 1 and Mental Paralysis opens this record, shall we say, with a bang, I guess. I guess that's what you could call it. It is an incredibly ghastly, ominous collection of sounds and ideas. You have this very twisted, dissonant black metal kind of winding and bending and pounding relentlessly. You have these gurgling, guttural vocals. It genuinely feels as if there's some kind of creature trying to speak to me from beyond, like, this dark dimension. There are weird vocal effects and samples that will kind of pop in and out of the forefront of the sound, just almost like a literal jump scare in the middle of the song. The rotten cherry on top of this monstrous interdimensional cake, though, would have to be the brooding, gloomy choral vocals near the very end. It's not even really in the forefront of the sound, but it towers over everything in this really, like, omnipresent kind of way. Building on this momentum, the following track, Endless Multitude, throws in a slew of sluggish, jagged grooves and rhythms, some more traditional bursts of, like, second wave black metal darkness and brutality, these aching, slightly off-key, like, guitar patterns and progressions that feel like they were plucked from the Silent Hill soundtrack. It just feels like an embodiment of existential loneliness and isolation and desperation. Every time I listen to this song, I literally feel as if I'm staring into the void. Speaking of voids, you also have the ultimate void of chaos, a very chaotic, tense, grueling number. I'm not sure if it's being done by vocals or guitars or keyboards or something else entirely. I don't know, fucking turntables for all I goddamn know. But in this song, there are these weird, like, swarming, buzzing noises, and something about that legit put a chill down my spine. I also really like the Black Vortex, and it's like escalating scales and grooves. You know, it kind of rises and falls, and rises and falls, and consistently is still lurching at you with a lot of intensity and menace and bloodthirst. At this point in the review, you're probably thinking to yourself, alright, well, Robert gave Undreamable Abysses a 4.5 out of 5 last year, and since this album is very much in the same ballpark, in theory, this should also be a 4.5 out of 5. And you're right, in theory. In theory. In execution, though, I think Undreamable Abysses was a more unique album, as we discussed earlier. It was also a more immersive and a more immediate album, ultimately a more successful one at that. I don't really feel like there are bad songs on this record, but I will point out that there are some songs that just really didn't do as much for me. Queen of the Dead Dimension, for instance, undeniably one of the more one-note tracks on this record. It just didn't really do much for me at all. And the ending, especially with Forgotten Aeon, I think could have been a lot better. For an album that starts with a bang, it honestly ends with kind of a whimper. Still, though, the production is top-notch. This thing is densely packed, very well mixed and mastered and balanced, great vibes, great atmospheres. Even in these weaker moments, it's still a really unsettling piece of work. So no, it may not be exactly on the same level as Undreamable Abysses, or frankly, even some other avant-garde and experimental black metal we've heard this year from Dod Heimsgard and the aforementioned Vanti Faxif, but it is still, I think, a really great album in its own right, in its own regard, so I'm feeling a 4 out of 5. Anyone looking for some very spooky, atmospheric, dissonant, avant-garde black metal with all kinds of different progressions, I think will be really excited with this. Anyone who loves Blut Aus Nord, I think will enjoy this warts and all. I'm very interested to see where this album series takes Blut Aus Nord in the future, how they continue to evolve and progress and build upon what they've done with this album and Undreamable Abysses. This is definitely not something I'll be playing at the next family barbecue, definitely not something I'll be playing whilst working out, lifting weights, or cooking or cleaning or doing things around my home. But, you know, on a dark, cold, dreary, rainy afternoon with a tall glass of red wine, I could picture myself returning to this sonic realm. Once again, 4 out of 5, perhaps a slight step down from Undreamable Abysses in my opinion, but still a great album, and I definitely think you should still check it out. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.